Trey kind of mentioned throughout the slump he was kind of trying harder to get out of it, so it made it harder to get out of. Did you kind of help him through that and tell him to kind of stick to the safe routine?
I mean, I just kind of told Trey that you gotta just try and do other things. Like I stop thinking about your scoring or your shot or whether you think you should have got to the free throw line, you didn't get there. Focus on defending, focus on being an assist guy. All the other things that you need to do as a basketball player. And he's been a complete player for us statistically. His assist totals, his rebounding numbers, all those things say that. So it was a matter of time. It was and he had a solid game and did everything we could have asked for him against Cal, and just I know he'll move forward and get better off that.
How much of a difference does Vitaly make?
Well, I mean, it's for now. This is the direction we're going, and he, especially in the Cal game, I thought I anticipated them playing more zone because they had done it a lot versus Arizona, and they ended up going man. But still, he's a threat to make the shots from three, and he plays off our guards very well, and he's in the right spot if the defense is helping in the paint, and he made a couple of threes in the game that were big, especially in the second half.
Coach, what led you to make that decision to switch Mickey out of the lineup?
It was because again, Mickey's been so valuable, and I thought back to his Vanderbilt game. He came off the bench, he had 13 rebounds, and he made a lot of impact plays. He had some blocks and a nice dunk, and just kind of energized our team coming off the bench. And I think Vitaly had been accustomed to starting, and I thought that he might play a little better in that role, and I knew that Mickey would produce coming off the bench, and his minutes, I mean, were still, he had mid-20s in the Cal game, so it didn't really change his minutes. It's just kind of a gut decision of maneuvering a lineup, and that's not to say that this is the lineup that will stay consistent through the rest of the year. I'm just gonna play this thing game to game.
Coach Trey for a couple of years now, this being the third year. How confident of a player is he?
Yeah, I mean, Trey is he believes himself. He's got he knows his skill level, and he's put the work in. He trusts the work, and he's produced for years. I mean, he's had great numbers here. Each year improving year to year. In all our big games I've talked about this season, Kansas and Xavier and Arizona, he's delivered 29, 31, and 40. I mean, all those numbers kind of speak for himself. So he's very confident. We're confident in him.
Taquan Lake had a rough first few games of Pac-12 play. Last couple, he's kind of figured things out. How have you felt about his last few games?
Yeah, I mean, Taquan just does something that we need, and he's unique. He's a bouncy athlete that has great timing as a weak side shot blocker, and he goes and gets some very key rebounds for us. I thought his stick back offensive rebound dunk on Remy's missed layup late in the game was a key play for our team, and he's gotten some key defensive rebounds too. He went up and got one at the end of our Cal game. He jumped, I don't know how high he jumped, but he had to be at least a foot over the rim getting that rebound. So he adds an athletic dimension to our front court that we need.
Obviously, he struggled with foul trouble a few times this season. Against Oregon State, he had one foul, put up 11 points and 6 boards. Do you feel like that's kind of the difference for him, being able to stay out of foul trouble play when you're deep?
Yeah, I mean, it's been an issue in some of our games with our front court. So we've worked harder in practices about because you want to have a physical practice. You want guys competing and going at each other, but maybe to focus on some of the contact plays and letting those guys know that you can't develop bad habits in practice.
Coach, both Trey and Shannon have spoken so highly of Remy Martin and just his impact on his team. What would you say about his character and just his playing skills and what he's been able to implement?
Yeah, I mean, Remy is fearless. Remy is one of those guys that just thinks he's the best player on the court, no matter who's out there. And he's just got unbelievable, self-confidence. But he's a very team-oriented, so it's not in a negative way where he thinks it's about him. Like, he's just trying to make all the plays that he can make, you know, to win. It's very unselfish that how he picks up the basketball in our defense and just gets that whole thing started. He had a great play in the first half, getting an offensive foul on a Cal player just because he just didn't want to pressure him anymore. And so he generates plays like that we take notice of, in addition to, you know, just clutch plays. And he made a great pass, a great push and kick out pass to Shannon for a 3 against Cal, and he hit one in the corner himself and had a great drive to the basket for another layup. So just trying to find minutes for Remy to get him out on the floor.
Is he playing beyond his maturity? Would you say beyond his years even?
I mean, again, he played great competition in high school. He always played against elite competition, been in big games. So, you know, when you push yourself like that, then this doesn't maybe feel too big for him. I mean, I never felt like he was overwhelmed in any of the moments that we've had with him out on the floor.
Were you pleased with Trey's energy the past few games, despite the way he was shooting and doing all the other things for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult when you played at such a high level and you have such high standards for yourself, and that's what, you know, Trey was battling some, is just everything that he had accomplished and trying to sustain that, and you know, but he pushed through it, and he wanted it bad, you know, and he understood that, you know, by him maybe not quite playing at the level he's capable of, that was impacting us winning and losing games, which I think to him was more important than his own individual stuff.
You haven't been getting to the free throw line quite as much in league games, but you're still, I think, first in the country. What's really enabled you getting to the line so often this year as a team?
It's just, I think the way we attack and the pressure we put on the defense, and you know, our guards are constantly driving the ball in the paint, and you know, teams, you know, whether it's a hand check or a rotating defense that's out of position, and you know, us being able to take advantage of that, or you know, the drop-off passes or the kickouts, and then we're driving again. You know, all the different ways that, you know, primarily the guards can attack, and then also going inside the Romello, and Romello's, you know, had a track record, especially in the non-conference, get to the free throw line. He got to the free throw line 14 times at Stanford, which was great. That's kind of more of what he had been doing, and you know, not so much at Cal, but we, you know, we're hoping that we can take advantage of that. It's an important part of our offense. I think we proved over a period of time that we, you know, we've been getting fouled just about every game, and then, you know, so we've dropped off. We have to continue to do that. And I don't think that we've been taking more threes or something, or becoming a jump shooting team. I think the proportion of our shots that were three-point shots in the non-conference is very similar to what it is in league play.
Is part of that just getting more calls at home versus being on the road?
I mean, that's always something that you know you have to be a little bit better on the road than normal, just because you know, the crowd, and you may not feel that you get the same calls that you get on your home court. I mean, that's just kind of what coaches probably feel everywhere, that they get a better officiated whistle on their home floor.
You guys have struggled as rebounding, especially defensively in conference play. And against Cal, even though you're matched up against 2 7-footers in Lee and Okoro, you guys were able to out-rebound them by 9. Did you guys do anything differently against Cal?
I thought we had a little more size out there, and there was more focus on you know, on blocking out and things that we talked about after the Stanford game. We gave up way too many second chance points, especially in the second half, that kind of just all over the guys about, you know, rebounding and the importance of that. And yeah, I mean, Mickey was great on the glass, come off the bench, get 10 rebounds was big, and but really across the board it was good. But Stanford, you know, they came right back, and I think they got a bunch of offensive rebounds against Arizona, and they're pretty big too. So I think Stanford just has unusual size at a lot of positions. They're, you know, one of the bigger teams we played against.
You mentioned that you don't have a set starting lineup, that you'll kind of, you know, do it by who's playing well going into a given game. Do you think Kamani could potentially be a guy that could start a game?
I mean, it's too early to tell on that. And again, he's got such a bright future here, and he's gonna he's gonna continue to develop and make an impact. And was happy with his first half minutes and how he played, came right in and contributed. And I think that's going to be his role in the short term, and then we'll just see how everything progresses.
And then you played two big men at some points in the Cal game with Romello and Devon. Do you see more of that going forward potentially?
I mean, I think I got away from that some, and I'd like to have that combination out there, particularly when we've generated a lead and we need to make sure we take care of the backboard and teams trying to drive in the paint, and having two guys like that that can challenge shots and rebound. That's kind of how you get stops. So I would anticipate seeing those guys together some as we go forward.
Coach, you guys are still one of the top teams in the country. Is that energy and kind of hype that was prevalent before, is that still resonating on the court?
I mean, I think that we were on to something in the Cal game, and just not only the rebounding was better in defense, but just our ball movement and the extra passes and the driving kicks and things that we were doing offensively early in the season that we didn't maybe do quite as well early in Pac-12 play. But like, if you just look everywhere, there have been teams that were ranked as high as us that have gone through tough stretches. There are examples every day that it's happening. Teams that are in the top 5 that'll lose 2 in a row, 3 out of 4, and that's just a part of the season, going through some tough stretches and and figuring out how to get going again.
Coach, you have to balance foul trouble and fatigue if you put DeQuan and Romello on the court together. How do you reconcile that in your mind?
Well, I think actually interior defense-wise that they would help each other more and be less likely to get in foul trouble if they were together, just because of Romello's physicality and then Lake's athleticism. So if you did play against two traditional bigs in there, that they throw the ball inside, and Romello is going to hold his ground very well in position defense, and then you have Lake coming over, as a late shot blocker. It just gives you a better chance to maybe avoid those situations. Now we like to use our 4-man in different ways too. So having Mickey at the 4, having Vitali at the 4, even Kamani, it gives us different looks for a game. So I just like having the flexibility of being able to have those different combinations.
Thank you.
Coach, how much of the team's overall struggles in the last month have to do with confidence or maybe lack of confidence, and how much of it has to do with teams adjusting to your style of play?
I mean, it's probably some. I mean, these coaches are pretty good in the conference, and they've seen our players with more frequency than non-conference opponents, and we've run a lot of things on offense that we didn't really do last year. Some things we did last year, but so I think it's maybe some of teams just understanding what our guys are trying to do, and maybe having a good game plan for that. We also went through some stretches where we just didn't have enough guys playing well at one time, and we just have to get back to being more balanced, kind of like we were in Cal, where a bunch of guys contributed, and the ball was moving around very well, and if we do those things on offense, I think we'll be fine.
Playing Utah the second time around, what challenges does that pose just because they're always playing that close?
Yeah, it was a hard-fought game, very, very physical game. It was the longest game in the history of college basketball. No, it was he does a great job, and their team that again has a good inside game, with Collette, and Rawson's coming off a 6-3 game for him, and Bibbins was a problem for us in the first game. Really got everybody in foul trouble with his penetration ability. So yeah, I don't really look at it like, hey, we played them, and I think each game is really its own, and I just concentrating on where my team is at right now, and what we just did at Cal, and how we could build on that and attack this week the best we can.
When you took the job here, did you ever, Trey Holder then, did you ever envision that he would be where he is now, mid-season All-American awards and being on other watch lists?
Initially, I mean, it's just hard to project that out, you know, but it's also, once you get to know someone and you see, like, the qualities that he has and the work ethic and the type of kid that he is and what basketball means to him, and then you start seeing him, just how he's able to maneuver, you know, hit a ball screen and the feel that he has. It's hard to teach a guard, you know, the feel for the game that he has once he gets in the lane. He's not really fazed by big bodies being around him or the defense collapsing on him. He's very poised in those situations, and so he's just, and then he's just made himself a better shooter. He was, you know, he was inconsistent early in his career, and he's put the work in, and he trusts his three-point shot, and he's become better because he's, you know, making defenses honor him, you know, well past the three-point line. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Coach.
Okay.